Marina, we were talking about democracy just then. Do you think the Brexit deal is going back on democracy? As so many right-wing commentators have said this week?
It feels like just 2019 all over again, doesn't it? Oh, well, it's almost like a double negative, isn't it? Because we undid democracy when we did Brexit, because Brexit was a pack of lies. And and this is, I think, a Peter Oborne quote, but when you lie to steal people's votes, that is the death of democracy, right? That is not democracy. You are lying, and they are placing their trust in you, and then you are taking their vote, and you are abusing their trust. So no, I don't think it's an erosion of democracy. I actually think it's a way for us to repair what was broken in our democracy so many years ago.
Do I dare play devil's advocate in this and try and push forward
Try.
I could try. I look like I might regret that. Liz, what do you think about this Brexit deal? Do you think it's undoing democracy at all, or?
No, it's doing minimal undoing of the absolute aberration that was ensured from democracy being totally and utterly, strangled with a dreadful referendum, which was just a poll. It didn't make a decision. It was harnessed and used against democracy, us the people, to accept being placed in a very deep, dark, horrible well. And we really have no escape out of it, because each of the parties, to some extent, have become infected with Brexit. In America, Trumpism only exists in the Republican Party. So it's easy for the opposition to oppose Trumpism, which in effect is just Brexitism, the same kind of plan. But here, within each of the parties, they've all got a degree of thinking that they either have to respect this dodgy vote, or that they've got people in their parties in power who are believers in Brexit. And so that's why we're in this hellhole of a trap. It's true that only 27% of people voted for Brexit of the entire population in June 2016. Millions of those have now passed away. Millions of new voters have come through. And we really should have had another referendum once the deal became clear about what Brexit was. And the biggest deceit to our democracy was not allowing us clarity to decide exactly what we were voting on. And that's why democracy is still in a really bad mess.
Do you think it's recoverable? Do you think that we can actually go back into the EU? Do you think we can get rid of this stigma and anti-Brexit feeling and change it over? Does it feel like that at the moment? Because still doesn't, even though Starmer took a step towards us, towards the EU, it hasn't really felt like anything's changed or anything's going to be improved. We're still in this sort of weird limbo. What do you think, Marina?
Maybe this is a rejoin by stealth, perhaps. Maybe it's like, grandmother's footsteps, and slowly, like catchy monkey, that we will have to do it, because the backlash is so significant. If you just had to look at the papers, if you went down to your local supermarket and to pick up your bread and milk, and you had a little look at the newspaper stand, like, it was covered with newspapers talking about this betrayal, this surrender, it's going back into the EU, which is also very, by the way, triggering and provocative language. When you think back to David Amess and Joe Cox, we talked about dialing down this kind of language, and actually we've gone back to it. So I think what Starmer has done is very sensible. You'll have people like myself, I'm sure Liz, Liberal Democrats, all saying it's not enough, but I think it's a good first step. There was always going to be a reset at this point. It was part of the original roadmap anyway. Should he have gone further? I would say yes. I'm sure Liz would say yes as well. But I think what we found about Keir Starmer is he treads very carefully. So, and I don't know quite who he's trying to appease at the moment. If you look at the way he's speaking with regards to immigration, if you look at the fact that he took GB News with him on a recent trip rather than other news outlets, it looks like he's really pandering to the Reform voter base. Yes, I know, Alex, you're looking, that is correct.
Say what? He only took GB News?
Yeah.
Where?
Where was it?
But this was this week, and it was only
this
GB
week.
News.
It was this week.
Yeah.
Why is he doing that?
Morgan McSweeney.
Yes, exactly.
Well, McSwindle, as he's become known in one article by bylines. Yeah.
Do you want to give Liz? Do you want to give the listeners some context, just in case they're not aware of him?
Yeah, Morgan McSweeney is a bit like Dominic Cummings. He's an advisor, and he's come up through the ranks, and he, is saying that he won the election. In my view, Labour were not really the winners of the election. They won because the Tories lost, and also, us guys were involved in the tactical voting push. I think actually we did it. We won it. And McSwindle, as he's been called in the bylines, is taking the credit for winning elections. And when you Adam Bienkov dug a bit deeper, it seems that it's been overblown, and he is not he's not the genius that he's portraying. But his association is with someone called Maurice Glassman, and he was made a peer by Ed Miliband. Maurice Glassman is so closely aligned with Nigel Farage, it's terrifying.
Isn't he besties with Steve Bannon as well?
And besties with Steve Bannon.
And went to Trump's inauguration.
The only parliamentarian to get invited into the rotunda. Not even Nigel Farage got that, but he did. Go on, Liz. I'll tell you what Steve Bannon said to him in a minute. Go on, Liz. I can see you want to jump in.
I only hope that somebody in the Labour Party who's a member has put, I hope several Labour members have put in complaints, because last week Maurice Glassman, it was in the Sun, I think, he joined a campaign of Nigel Farage and GBBs. And, if he's a Labour Party peer, that's really, that he should lose the whip for that, because you're not meant to go and back other parties. So I think, to me, this is what the sort of cancer within a lot of decisions is here, that there seems to be a problem with McSwindle. He also got rid of Sue Gray, who was one of the reasons I voted Labour. Was I sort of thought, well, she's a very experienced civil servant. She was obviously, on the Remain side, because obviously that was the sensible side. And then she was ousted. So nobody knew about McSwindle before the election, really. And suddenly he's there. And this morning, apparently, he's having an argument with Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer wants to now get rid of the cruel to child cap. And McSwindle is digging in on it. Nobody voted for McSwindle. It's time for McSwindle to go. Let's get him in the Rose Garden and hold him to account.
Yeah. All these unelected bureaucrats.